Heather, hello. Good
Jason, good
morning.
morning. Good morning.
Listener, viewer, please forgive me. I was recently napping, so I'm still personally waking up to a second good morning for the day, and so I'm getting
Wow.
back into my rhythms here.
Do
So
you also then get to have second breakfast
that's a really good idea.
or
I
11sies?
love I love breakfast. I
I do
appreciate
too.
that you're making these references,
Hey,
even though you haven't read those
I
books.
haven't I haven't read those books yet.
Afternoon
But
tea,
because
luncheon,
because the algorithm just seems to think I really love Lord of the Rings, I
yeah.
get videos for like doodling, Taylor Swift, and Lord of the Rings. So yeah,
Oh, because you do art.
yeah.
You do your arts and you
Hmm.
post them. And so Instagram's like, oh, she wants to see more children painting.
Hey. Dear listener, I am currently doing a paint by numbers that has made me question every choice I've ever made. Like it's exhausting. So, like, I'm gonna have to get reading glasses to do this because there's
Mhm.
tiny, itsy bitsy numbers in these little, very tiny shapes that you have to fill in, and I can't see it. I was really excited at the top of the painting where it was just like giant swaths of pink and yellow and orange. And I was like, oh, this is easy. And then I get down to where I was yesterday and I'm like, this is the dumbest.
Why do I
I
hate
don't need to do
myself so
this.
much?
Yeah. I don't need this in my life. So,
Yeah.
but I have to finish it. I have
You
to.
don't have to.
No, I do. I
Okay.
have to. Yeah.
I was reading a book other than this one last week. And I was like, I just really don't care about these people. And my daughter and my wife were both like, hey, you don't have to read the book. Which
Yeah.
is a big step for my daughter because she hate reads every book. Like she's like, I hate this book, and it's like, well, don't finish it. She's like,
And
I'm
finish?
gonna
Yeah.
finish it. So I checked out the digital version from the library, the Kindle, and I
Yeah.
had my Alexa app on my phone read to me the rest of the book.
You can do that.
Oh yeah, yeah. So if you have
Do
a
you have
Kindle
to
book
have, yeah,
and you have the Alexa app on your phone, you don't have to have an Alexa. Just get the Alexa app and set up an Alexa account and
Jason?
somehow, and then you can have it read your Kindle books to you in Alexa's voice. And I was just making sure my little lady in my tube over here doesn't start talking at me. Um,
Ew.
Alexa. All right.
What's happening?
So
Okay,
well, sometimes it's plugged into my speakers, so I just didn't want her to talk.
right.
It's anyway. So yeah, so you can have it read to you at up to 2 times speed, but it's a robot like AI voice, so it's not like a
Oh,
narrator. But um, it's pretty great because you can get through books that you don't want to read with your eyeballs.
yeah, yeah.
You can read it with your ear holes,
Ooh, I
which I'm a
like
fan
that.
of. So and
I'm a
then, but
fan
then I
too.
finished it, and I was like, oh, the end was so good. It was the previous 300 pages that were bad.
What
So
is worse though? Like a book that just sucks your soul until the very end where it's good, or a book that is great and then the ending is like, why? Why did this even have to be this way?
I would say the book with the worst ending is bad. Like, because sometimes,
Really?
yes, because it's not about the journey, it's about the destination. Uh, so, like, where are you, like, if
Okay.
you get to a place where you finish the book and you're like, oh, it all came together,
Hmm.
that's much more satisfying than to read a book or like, oh, this is so good. And then get to the end of like, oh, it all fell apart.
Yeah.
The writer did not land the plane, and now we are missing doors and cell phones and shirts because the door plug fell off. And this happened. Alaska
What are
Airlines.
you
Did you not
what are you
hear about
talking
this just
about?
last week?
No.
A door plug on an aeroplane for Alaska Airlines flew off in flight.
Like the actual door itself, or like
The door plug. So it's not there's
what
not
is a
actually
door
a door
plug?
there. but it is like in case of emergency, this might be
Pop
used
out.
as a door, like it's an exit, possible
Okay.
exit. It blew off, and they found it, the door plug in Portland, and a guy's cell phone flew out the window, and they found that, and they knew where it was from and where it needed to go because they still had the luggage receipt on their wallet in their phone. It was on
Oh my
airplane mode as well,
gosh.
which is good news because otherwise it'd be like, well, it's that guy's fault. He didn't put his phone on
Right.
airplane mode.
Oh, could you imagine? For the
So
rest of his life, he'd be like, I was the one.
I
It
guess
was
it's my fault,
my
guys.
bad.
So yeah, but you didn't hear about this.
Wow.
This is, I guess,
No.
you're in Middle Earth, and I'm out here in God's country, and it's a
Oh.
local company. It's two local companies. It's a Boeing plane and Alaska Airlines, and so yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
It's a sucky week to be in Seattle.
Well, I mean, it all
Um,
happened over Portland. It doesn't really affect
oh,
me other than like, oh, that's crazy. A couple
okay.
months ago, an Alaska Airlines pilot got way high on shrooms. And
No.
then he got like, you know how pilots can like just jump on a plane, like take like the booster seat kind of. Um,
What?
like they can like get on to like a bonus like crew chair that's empty and they could fly.
Okay.
And so he
Okay.
did that as a pilot. And then he tried to crash the plane.
No.
Yes. Yes.
No. This
This
is
happened.
what is this world? Where on earth are we living? On
I
earth,
don't know. I
duh.
mean, I
But
mean, out here in the Pacific Northwest, you know, in Oregon, shrooms are legal. So people are doing stuff. Anyway,
good night.
speaking of mushrooms, hobbits love mushrooms. You learn about that in Fellowship of the Ring.
Okay.
Um, and we happen to be talking about one particular hobbit in The Hobbit, and his name is Bilbo Baggins.
Bilbo Baggins.
And today, Heather, we are
Hmm.
discussing chapters 12 and 13,
That we are.
or
That
as
we
the
are.
Romans say, he and he,
What?
because it's XII and
Oh my gosh.
XIII.
All
So
right. So recap from
yeah,
chapter 11.
thank you.
At the end, they were like trying to find their way in, and this thrush was like, "Hey, dummies, knocking," and like Bilbo figured it out, and then they were able to get in.
Yep.
And so, okay, chapter 12, inside information. So now they're like, "Oh, we can go in," and Thorin goes on a speech, like kind of buttering up Bilbo to get him to go explore, and Bilbo probably rolled his eyes at him, but he goes in anyway, and Balin goes in with him. Balin, but only for a little distance. Like he can still see the outline of the door because
Mhm.
he's like, I'll go in for a little bit because I'm scared of the dark and I'm not going all the way down into the dragon's lair. No, thank you.
Hard pass.
Um, yeah. By himself, he sees the warm red glow, and it starts getting hotter in the tunnel, and he can hear the dragon snoring. What? Your face
Nothing.
is like, okay.
I'm
Are you like
listening.
enthralled? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
this is a good story.
Okay, good. So Smaug was lying on all of the treasure, and his belly was crusted with gems and gold, and Bilbo was breathless because it was a lot to take in.
Hmm.
Then Bilbo became the thief. He took a large two-handled cup from Smaug's pile, and he fled, and he was proud of himself, and he was like taunting Thorin or mocking Thorin, saying he's more of a grocer than a thief. And he's
More of
like,
a
yeah,
grocer than a burglar.
okay, whatever. Um, grocer than a burglar. I was pretty sure I wrote it was more than a grocer than a thief, more of a grocer than a thief.
Okay,
Whatever. You look that up while I talk.
I will.
And then Balin was excited to excited to see him, as were the rest of the dwarves. But then there was a great rumbling in the mountain, and the ground trembled, and Smaug was awake. And he knew the cup was missing, and he was furious. And so the dwarves all scrambled into the tunnel, saving Bifer and Bomber with their ropes, some of their stores and tools and stuff too, but their poor ponies were not. But they were able to get these guys up before Smaug did his flyby firing. And then they stayed in the tunnel until Smaug tuckered himself out. I can't talk.
Yeah, you're doing great.
It's thanks. Anyway, the dwarves grumbled about Bilbo taking the cup, and he was all like, well, what else was I supposed to do? He offers to go back into the tunnel, and the dwarves are like, yep, you can do that. Go ahead. And so he slipped his ring on and crept in again, and Smaug was maybe pretending to be asleep. He noticed that Smaug was pretending to be asleep. They have a conversation. Bilbo speaks to him in riddles, as he's come to love doing. And then Smaug is like, hey, I ate all your ponies. And he could tell that there were dwarves around because he tasted them on the ponies. Mm-hmm. But he couldn't place the smell of the Hobbit because that was not a smell that was familiar. Mm-hmm. They go back and forth. Smaug calls out that they have no hope of transporting the treasure away. So what are they going to do now? And Bilbo is all like discouraged, but then he pivoted and he's like, nah, we out for revenge. And he got Smaug. But
we out for revenge.
Yeah, I can see him talking like that.
We throw our hands.
He got Smaug monologuing. And eventually Bilbo saw that, like, yes, while his belly was like crusted with gems and shields and whatever, what is that called? Armor. Mm-hmm. He had a bear patch in his chest, which left him vulnerable. But Smaug, like, either just didn't notice or care or whatever, or thought he was indestructible. Matchless. Undeniable. Anyway, that's a song.
I bet it is.
Indescribable, not indestructible. Anyway, what? Okay, it's like an old worship song.
Oh, I don't know it.
Indescribable, matchless, undeniable, priceless, irresistible.
No.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know that song at all.
Okay. Anyway, so Bilbo taunts Smaug as he darts back up the tunnel, and Smaug spews flames at him, and he only just got away from him. And then he coined the proverb, never laugh at dragons.
Right.
I'm going to start using that.
My bumper sticker.
I bet it is. No, it's never laugh at live dragons. Sorry.
You can laugh at the dead ones all you want.
Yeah, exactly.
What are they going to do? They're dead.
They're dead.
Dead dragon.
Anyway, so he gets out of the cave, goes back to the dwarves. He gets irritated with a thrush, but thrushes are useful. And the lake men use them to communicate in the days of yore. And then Bilbo retells everything that happened. They all talked. The thrush listened. And eventually he flew away. And they moved back into the tunnel to be safe. And they talked about all of the treasure inside and the great white gem, the Arkenstone of Thrain. And he says that it was like a globe with 1,000 facets. It shone like silver in the firelight, like water in the sun, like snow under the stars, and like rain upon the moon. Anyway, Bilbo was then like just kind of uncomfy and demanded that they close the door to the tunnel, and Thorin obliged just in time again, because Smaug was back and he was assaulting the opening with his fire and trying to destroy them. And Smaug curses the barrel rider and heads off, which is Bilbo. That was one of the riddles. Heads off toward the running river to remind the men of the lake who is the real king under the mountain. Duh. That's chapter 12.
That's chapter 12.
Yeah.
Good job.
Okay.
Good 13. Job. You want to do 13? Just go right into it?
Yeah. It's a much shorter summary.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they were trapped. Oh, chapter 13 is not at home. They were trapped in the tunnel. They were in despair. Then Bilbo was like, let's just go back down into Dragon's Lair. The only way out is down. And so they all like kind of went, but the dwarves like stayed back a bit, waiting for Bilbo's report after giving him a torch to go exploring. Bilbo climbed the treasure heap. He found the Arkenstone and he pocketed it. He burgled it. Straight up burgled it. Dwarves were still hiding when Bilbo gets dive bombed by a bat or something, and he starts crying for help because he dropped his torch and it was dark and he couldn't see anything. And Balin was like, "Okay, I'll go help him." Then they all caught glimpses of the treasure pile and grew suddenly bold because treasure makes
Gold.
dwarves bold,
Yeah.
and
Or
they're like,
dumb.
either one.
Yeah.
It's a fine line.
Hmm.
Um, and then Killy and Philly found some harps, and the others stuffed their pockets with gems and such. And Thorin was maybe secretly trying to find the Arkenstone, but couldn't because of the burglar. They all put on like coats of mail uh, to like protect themselves. And the enchantment of the treasure was wearing off on Bilbo because he was like, I mean, guys, I've seen this. It's fine. I don't really need to be seeing this anymore. And he was all like, hey, what's next? I'm bored. What am I going to do? And then Thorin guides them out through the great chamber of Thror to the front gate into the broad light of day, looking upon Dale. And surprise, surprise, Bilbo was hungry because it had, in fact, been 2 nights in that nasty hole or Thorin's palace. And they were far away from any options for food. They started, I believe, toward Dale. Yes. Is that, yeah, ish? I don't know, wherever they
Um,
started off toward.
I think they're just working their way down the
Rivenhill?
mountain. No, Rivendell.
River,
Rivendell is very far away.
Riven, it's like Ravenhill or something, though.
Oh, the old town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
River, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's okay.
they started off, they were eating cram and eventually ended up resting in a place where there used to be a bunch of watchmen posted, all the while wondering where was Smaug. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Yep. That's
Chapters
it.
12 and 13.
Good job.
Thanks.
What did you think of these two chapters? What are your thoughts?
Um, well, I didn't read chapter 12 this week, so I can't remember a lot of it, but I'm sorry, that would have been
Yeah,
the
that's my
fourth
fault.
time reading through it. And I couldn't do it. Anyway, but I mean, it was, good story, good way to piss off a dragon. Oh, sorry, make angry a dragon. And
Who are you apologizing to?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if we have to put like an explicit content or something
I
on
don't
here
think for
now.
that. No, I think we're good.
Okay. Okay. Um, anyway, I thought that was a good way to just like, talk about, or not talk about, but get to know Smaug a little
Hmm.
bit
Hmm.
and see um, what he is like. I did like the part where he got him monologuing, and
Yeah.
like that's always it's a
It's
good way for
important
the
for a villain to
yes,
monologue.
yes,
It's like that's
because
what you pay me for.
we have to know a little bit of their backstory or why they are the way they are.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I thought that was good. And then I know we'll talk more about the Arkenstone because I'm sure there's a lot to say about that.
There's some mystery around it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Um, Go ahead.
Well, I do like you highlighted some things that are important. One is the way
Yes.
you're familiar with Thorin's style on important occasions. I will not give you any more of it, though he went on a good deal longer than this. I love
Yes.
that. Like you guys know Thorin. Oi, oi, this guy.
Yeah.
And then as they're trying to get Bilbo to do this thing, Bilbo said, like the narrator says, uh, they're decent enough people like Thorin and company if you don't expect too much. And I just love that. Like just lower your expectations
Yeah.
on everybody.
Literally everything.
Uh and as Bilbo is going into the tunnel, I'm just reading some of my underlines here. Going on from there, when he's seen the little light of the dragon's presence, going on from there was the bravest thing he ever did.
I had that down and I crossed it out because I was like, that's not.
Well, but then 2 sentences later, he fought the real battle in the tunnel alone before he ever saw the vast danger that lay in the pit. that was so cool. Like he fought like that. Like
His
Bilbo
own
is
like
not a warrior, and so his danger that he has to overcome is all internal.
yeah,
And so
it's
that's the
all in his
battle.
head.
Like you could have been
Hmm.
like, yeah, there's a dragon in there. I'm not going any further. But he's like, no, I'm going to keep going. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I do love. He grasps the two-handed cup and as heavy as he could carry, and cast one fearful eye upward towards Smaug, who stirred a wing. Then Bilbo fled. It's like, I'm out of here. So
Bye.
yeah, I go by. But then when Smaug is aware of the something's happening in his
Yeah.
hoard, right? And so he's like, could there be a draft from the little hole? He had never quite felt happy about it, though it was so small. And now he glared at it in suspicion and wondered why he had never blocked it up. Of late, he had half fancied he had caught the dim echoes of a knocking sound from far above that came down into his lair. He stirred and stretched forth his neck to sniff. Then he missed the cup.
Like, so he like knew everything that was in there, kind of like Bellatrix Lestrange in her vault at Gringotts. She knows
Sure.
everything that's
Yes.
supposed to be in there.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
here's the
Yet
dragon.
another.
Yeah, stealing. The dragon knows their hoard. Like he knows
Why?
the treasure
How?
because it's his.
Okay.
Like
Is
that's
that what Smaug sounds like in the movie?
oh no, it's Benedict Cumberbatch.
No, it is not.
It
Really?
absolutely is, yeah. But it's just an
Oh.
animated dragon, right? It's not him like in a dragon suit going, "I'm Smaug,"
Kind of
which would have
like,
been pretty rad if it was. It's just some guy like, "Hey, I'm Smaug, barrel rider."
where's my cup?
Yeah. So he just looked like in a bathrobe. Somebody took my cap.
Ah,
Uh,
no.
so yeah, the dragon lore is that like they go and find treasure and they hold on to it and they keep account of it. So
Okay.
anything that's missing, he will know. And
It's like you and
so
your Excel sheets of books.
exactly right. So I'm not a bookworm. I'm a book
Book
dragon.
dragon.
And so yeah, so then he's mad, right? But I just think
Yes.
it's very important that he notices the
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 cup.
cup. And then they're hiding in the tunnel, and they debated long on what was to be done, but they could think of no way of getting rid of Smaug, which had always been a weak point in their plans, as Bilbo felt inclined to point out. It's like, oh, now there's a dragon here. What are we gonna do? And it's
Oh,
like,
crap.
how come you guys
But we
never
knew
thought about
about that.
that? That's a kind of a
We
big
knew
one.
about this, guys.
It was one of those
Oh my
things where we
gosh.
build the bridge when we burn it. Is that the
Oh,
expression? Uh,
sure.
and then they send him back in,
Mhm.
and which is there's something happening in the printing of the text as well. The way it's actually laid out, okay, that I think is
Okay.
interesting. Because not often in the book so far have we had section breaks. Um, you know, and so on that page where he was only pretending to sleep. He was
Hmm.
watching the tunnel entrance. Hurriedly, Bilbo stepped back and blessed the luck of his ring. Then Smaug spoke. Section break. I don't know why there's a section break there. I think that's super interesting.
Interesting.
But then he starts talking to him, and the way that Smaug talks to Bilbo is not so much that he's giving any kind of monologue about his backstory. It was like, when I was a poor young dragon, they mistreated me at dragon school, and then I was like, I will show all the dragons. No, that's not his point at all. Instead, he starts to cast doubt into Bilbo about the dwarves' intentions. So he's like, how? Yeah, they want to take
Oh.
the gold, but they'll never get it. And even if they can, that 1/14 that you're supposed to get, there's fees on that. They're ticket mastering you, bro. And so the dragon is
That's
trying
the
to
real
create
villain.
some, yeah, the real villain in every story is
Is
Ticketmaster.
Ticketmaster.
Yeah. And so he's trying to create tension between
Mm.
Bilbo and the dwarves.
Sowing discord.
Yes. Yeah. And so he does also like he doesn't know what hobbits smell like, which is super interesting because it's like you're just such a mystery. And that may be the reason why he's willing to talk to him at all. Like, I don't know who you
Because he
are.
has no history with him.
Yeah. I don't know what you are. I don't know. Like, I ate all these dwarves hundreds of years ago,
Yeah.
but I've never snacked on you. So, or your kind.
You
So
seem
maybe he's,
small.
yeah.
You seem not worth it.
I mean, is this like a side
An amuse
thing?
bouche, if you will.
A moose boosh. Yeah. So, yeah, but he's trying to throw that doubt into his
Interesting.
mind. And so like in this section, there's this section where Smaug is like leading the path or the conversation. And then there's another section break where the narrator jumps in and is like, this is of course the way you talk to dragons.
Yeah. Duh,
And this
guys.
is one of the reasons why I think this narrator, like why I think it's Bilbo, is because he's telling the story and he's like, I'm the smartest guy in the room right now. Let me tell you all the cool things I learned in all of my experience with dealing with dragon.
Hmm.
Not dragons, one dragon.
Solitary dragon.
Yeah. And so yeah, so he yeah, and so it kind of goes back and forth with this section break thing in this chapter, which is just super interesting to me. So um when he gives you talked about him saying he's giving riddles.
Hmm.
But I think more than the riddles, what Bilbo is doing is giving just trying to make himself sound impressive
Yeah.
to a dragon who is also impressive. So he's like Smaug the Destroyer, Smaug the mighty, like all these things, trying to butter him up, and then it's like tiny little Bilbo Baggins, is like, and I'm the Barrel
Barrel
Rider.
rider.
I'm the one who buried my friends and resurrected them. I am divine. So yeah, he's a guest of eagles, a ring winner, a luck wearer, a barrel rider. So yeah, but uh,
Okay.
yeah, so I think he's just trying to get to the same level as Smaug in
Oh,
conversation,
all right.
and but he's got nothing. So like,
Yeah.
I have to make up
Because
titles,
he's sat at home pretty much
right?
this until
Yeah,
this journey.
so he's making up titles like serial entrepreneur. Uh, so like, oh, you're a guy who doesn't keep jobs. Got it. But then later on, as he is Bilbo's talking to Smaug, and a nasty suspicion began to grow in his mind about the dwarves forgetting about the fees and all these different things. And then Bilbo says, I tell you, in an effort to remain loyal to his friends and to keep his end up, that gold was only an afterthought for us. We came over hill and under hill by wave and wind for revenge.
See,
Surely, O
not a fan.
Smaug, the unaccessibly wealthy, you must realize that your success has made you some bitter enemies. So he's trying to put the fear of Hobbit in him. But revenge is capitalized and italicized. Why is it capitalized? I don't know.
Is like really there you don't
I don't know. I don't know. Like it's a weird little thing. Like Tolkien, as somebody who loves language, like there's got to be a reason he capitalized revenge. Because if he wanted to just end on a emphasis, he could have just
yeah,
used an exclamation mark,
right.
but he didn't. So I don't know. This is one of those things that's just like that's weird.
It's not in the
Uh,
Silmarillion.
no, that is not in the Silmarillion. No, Bilbo is not mentioned at all in the Silmarillion.
What?
Yeah, he's a small little dude. Well, I
Ugh.
mean, like passing. I'll have to read it again. No problem. I got it. So
Oh no.
there's just a massive fly just that flew right into my office, and I'm gonna have to name it. It's huge. I now have a pet fly.
Oh my
The
gosh.
Yeah. So this conversation is not going great, and then he leaves. And Dragon goes and blows stuff up. You
Yeah,
know.
as dragons tend to do.
Uh, yeah. So now they're trapped and all this stuff. So as he's talking about the Arkenstone is a mysterious thing. Just a second.
This fly is a problem.
I think
Oh,
I
did
might
you
have
just
killed
kill
it.
your pet?
No, I don't think I got it. But the book is strong. The Arkenstone is something that the dwarves made, right? Is what
Okay.
the way it's talked about. But the way it is described is also very similar to a Silmaril. So,
No.
yeah, which is something that the elves made in the Silmarillion. And so the question is this one of the missing Silmarils that then it was you given to like the dwarves at some point? We don't really know. It's unclear. So,
Okay, but this is just known by you because you
right.
are a nerd
It's not
about
just
this
known
stuff.
by me, it's something that people
No.
talk about in the Tolkien community.
Okay, but I'm saying like this wouldn't have come up. Like I would not have known anything about a Silmaril.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So part of the issue here is Tolkien did revise some things over time. And so like the edition of The Hobbit that we read is different than what was actually published in 1937. He made some changes after the Lord of the Rings came out. He's like, I want to tie some things in a little bit more clearly. And so the the Silmarillion and talks about these three gems that are like very beautiful and people covet them. And
Yeah.
so the Arkenstone has a very similar effect on people.
Um,
And so that's one of the reasons why people are like, is this a because the Silmarils are missing. Like they they're not easily accessible. And so
like Infinity Stones.
exactly like the Infinity Stones. Again, Marvel stole that from Tolkien. Tolkien, if you think of something cool, Tolkien thought of it first. That's just the rule. And so yeah, so they are so yeah, it's if you read this and you never know anything about the Silmarillion, you can read this and a Hobbit or a Lord of the Rings saga, and will never encounter the idea of the Silmarils ever. And it would be fine.
Okay.
You like it's not a necessary piece of the story, but the effect that the Arkenstone has and the way that like Bilbo just takes it, like why would he take it?
Yeah.
He knows how much,
Like why was he drawn to it?
yeah, he just knows how much Thorin wants it. And so he's like, well, I'm going to take it. It's going to be part of my 1/14th. I'm going to decide that for myself.
Is there like I mean, is he just like harboring like bitterness towards Thorin? Or is it like an enchanting thing that is like, I am 100% drawn to this and I don't care whose stuff I have to step on
I
to get
think it's
it?
more toward the latter.
Mm,
I think it's
okay.
more of that. Like it's enticing.
Okay.
And so
All right.
part of the problem with the dwarves in Tolkien's world is they love treasure.
Yeah.
And there's another underground complex called Moria. And we encounter this in the Fellowship of the Ring. And
Okay.
Moria is this amazing, it's called Kazakh Dun in the dwarvish language. And it's an amazing, like complex structure of mines. And they mined too deep and they awoke a darkness.
Oh no.
And so, yeah, so the dwarves bring trouble upon themselves because they become greedy. But what they found in Moria was mithril. And
What's mithril?
well, the little shirt that Bilbo's given as part of like Thorin gives him a little shirt of mail, chain mail.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
mithril is this like super hard metal and it's
Okay.
silvery and it's shiny and it's beautiful. And so it literally in Elvish, it's silver metal is what it means. Um, so, but or gray metal. But yeah, so that chainmail that Bilbo gets is
Hmm.
like crazy valuable. And Bilbo has no idea how it is. He's like, I just feel kind of weird wearing this. But it's crazy valuable, and he'll pass it on to Frodo in the end Fellowship, and it'll save Frodo's life. And you know,
Okay.
it's just yeah, but it's all this treasure that they have, and like the digging for Mithril unlocked the Balrog in Moria that led to the destruction of that whole Khazad Dûn. And so, you know, it's bad news. But the dwarves are pulled into this. But then on top
Hmm.
of that, the horde has been in this movie, in this book, Smaug's horde, all the treasure has been infected by the dragon's presence because dragons are also very greedy.
Yeah.
And so there's like a
Copy.
dragon sickness that starts to like infiltrate people's minds and hearts. And so
Oh, okay. Okay.
Smaug's like insertion of doubt into Bilbo's relationship with the dwarves and their contract. Like that's like a little bit of dragon sickness that's being passed into Bilbo. And then Thorin looking for the Arkenstone. Like it's the most important thing. It's the most valuable thing in the whole horde. And it's like this is the sign of the true king under the mountain is the one who holds the Arkenstone. And Bilbo's just like, yoinks. So
I'm the king of the mountain.
yeah, I mean it's like it's a total jerk move for Bilbo to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's totally Bilbo uh
It's
operating in his own agency at this point. I think there's a little bit of dragon sickness in him, a little bit of
the
uh
Horcrux.
yeah, a little bit of greed that is creeping into his heart. He's like, no, this is my
Hmm.
1/14th. And
Wow.
yeah, so yeah, it's a these chapters, while Smaug doesn't actually do anything really, uh he's uh caused some dissension in the
Yeah.
party, right? And so so yeah, Tolkien does this really great job of like in introducing tension into the story, and they're in a hallway, and it's like, where's the dragon? We don't know where the dragon is. The dragon's gone. We don't know. So and any minute as you're reading these chapters, like he could come back.
Yeah.
But they're like, then it ends with, where is he? And so
That is literally how this chapter ends.
yeah,
Where
where
was Smaug?
is Smaug? It
He
turns
was
out
doing some stuff.
he was out doing his work. Because he says, I'm gonna go and uh show the men what's up. Yeah. So yeah, it's a good chapters. So like next week we see what happens to Smaug, and yeah. So
And we meet I can't remember the guy's name.
Bard,
Bard. That's right.
yeah,
Yes. Okay. Well, then next week we will be covering chapters 13 and 15,
14 and
Jason.
15.
That's what I meant. 14
It's the
and
Romans.
15.
You should just go through and write the actual real numbers over
I
all
know.
of our chapters. So uh
These
yeah,
whatever.
13 and 14 and 15. Fire
You
and
see,
water and the gathering of the clouds.
the gathering of the clouds.
Yeah,
Okay.
so in the movies, this is where the second movie ends. Right there.
Is where is Smaug?
Yeah, basically. Well, no, next chapter is where the second movie ends because he goes and does things. And then this is the whole third movie.
That like it's even smaller in my book.
It's like
Like
you made a 3 hour movie out of this. Anyway, I'm still very bitter about that.
it
So
just seems ridiculous.
it is. So
Well, and like I mean, I read ahead and it doesn't feel like the battle is that long. So like
yeah, but it's amazing how long you can make a movie with this, computer generated images.
true.
So like that's yeah, and you know you've got a love story between a dwarf and a dwarf and an elf in The Hobbit. That is the movies. That is not in the books at all. And you've got a
It's
lot
not
more
canon.
caring about Bard than is really in the books. So so much movie.
Wow.
Anyway, I got bitter.
Okay.
I got bitterness. I've got dragon sickness towards the movies. The
I think I saw something that the Hobbit trilogy is playing at Cinerama or something like
hmm,
that.
I'm not going to go to
So,
that.
okay.
Cinerama. It just reopened.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
So
that's a very fancy pants movie theater in the Seattle city. So
it's an
yeah,
old theater.
it's
It
old,
had
but
been
it was been
but
redone.
it's been redone, but it has been around forever and it
Yeah,
got closed down and now it's redone and yeah, all that.
yeah.
So,
All right. I think I have to go. People are looking
okay.
at me, and a dog is here. So,
All right.
all
Well,
right.
Jason, good morning.
Good morning.